Okay, so welcome everybody to this evening's Q&A webinar with Daniel Ballard. Welcome, Daniel.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Good. And I want to start off, Daniel, by just asking you if you could give us just a little brief sort of background on you and your journey coming through as a young player. Where did you start playing, etc.?
Yeah, so my name's Daniel Ballard, if you didn't know. I'm 21 years old and I now been playing for Arsenal for more than half my life. I joined when I was 7, 8 years old. My first team was Fairlands Youth, which was a local team in Stevenage where I grew up. And I was quite quickly scouted into Arsenal. So I was very fortunate that I was able to join sort of the academy system from a very young age. And I've been there ever since, obviously with some bumps in the road. But yeah, for most of my life, I've been playing for Arsenal. I'm currently on loan at Blackpool and have played a few games for Northern Ireland seniors, which I'm extremely proud of, and hopefully I can go on to get many more.
And just for those people listening in this evening, Daniel, who maybe don't know your sort of connection with Northern Ireland, can you just share that with us, please?
Yeah, so it's my mum's side, which is Northern Irish. So she was born in Belfast and moved over to England when I think she was 20 or 21. So I have half my family here and half my family still living in Belfast.
Okay, and talk to us a little bit around your journey into the academy at Arsenal. What age did you get scouted or identified as a player who could go into that system?
Yeah, so it was at an extremely young age. I think I was only maybe 6 or 7. And I'm forever thankful. It was Brian Stapleton who spotted me. He was watching a tournament across the road and couldn't find anyone specific he was looking for, and I think a few parents told him to come over to the pitch where I was playing, and I thought I had a terrible game, and I got in a car at the end of the game and cried my eyes out like I usually do when I have a bad game. And that's when sort of my dad was telling me that I was going to trial for Arsenal. So it was a bit of a strange day. I thought he was telling porcupines because I was just trying to cheer me up. So yeah, that's how I sort of got spotted. And yeah, I think it was just like a 6-week trial at Arsenal, and I think everything went really well.
Great stuff. I see Bran has joined us this evening. He gave you a wave there when you give him a mention, so I'm sure that keeps him happy. Welcome, Bran. Bran, we might introduce you into the chat at some stage later on, if you don't mind. But Daniel, I want to then touch on your journey. So once you get into the academy then at Arsenal, tell us a little bit about your experience, coming through the youth system there.
Yeah, I'd say initially at a young age, I was doing really well, and I was loving every minute, and I was playing and performing well at the age groups that I was doing. I was playing up a year, and everything was going smoothly, going really well. But I think unfortunately as the years sort of went on and we got to the more serious age groups, mainly like under 14s, 15s, where you can probably start to spot more of a player, and you start to find out a position where you're playing, and that's when things get slightly more serious. I sort of fell behind the curve, I'd say, and spent a few years struggling, and I couldn't find the right position. I wasn't technically the best, and physically I was way behind the rest of my teammates. So I think at under 14s, it come to a decision whether to get released or kept on, and I was actually released that time. I was in a meeting with Liam Brady, and he gave me the rejection papers, and I cried my eyes out for about half an hour. And in the end, he come to an agreement and let me stay and let me try and prove myself to the new academy owners which were coming in. So I was extremely fortunate there. And for the next 2 years up to under 16s, it was a similar story. I was struggling a lot. I was working extremely hard, but I was behind that curve again. And I still loved playing football, but I could sort of feel myself behind the rest of the group. So again, a similar story. Under 16s, I actually didn't get offered a scholar and was released by the club.
How does it feel like to be released? Because it's not the nicest part of the job as a coach. I mean, I've been in that position quite a few times over the last few years where you're sitting down in front of a player or under 14 or whatever and just saying, look, unfortunately your pathway is not at this club, it might be somewhere else. And how does it feel like to be in that position?
Yeah, I think some people would find it tougher than others. For me, I was always trying to look at the positive. So I was understanding that maybe my path wasn't with Arsenal, and I was, excited to go on trial at other teams, and I wanted to go somewhere and feel valued and feel like I was one of the better players. So I tried to take a positive outlook on things. Of course, it's not nice being released, especially at a club like that, because at such a young age, playing for Arsenal was almost my identity, which is wrong. And I think it happens with a lot of footballers. Playing football is their identity almost. And when you take that away from someone, it can be quite, hard to deal with. And I think you've seen cases recently of players who really struggle, and, they do think it's only up from where they are and these obstacles are in the way. So I think there's a role in academies to try and help those players, and just trying to build, more of a more rounded young person where, football is a part of their life, but it's not all of their life.
That's a good point. Is that how do you pick yourself up from being told that you're going to be released and you really don't know what's coming next? What do you do to give yourself a little bit of a push?
I think, I still love playing football, and I loved working hard, and I loved having a goal and, going and achieving it. So, I was excited for the challenges upcoming. I went to Southampton on loan straight away, come back to Arsenal for a few sessions, and then ended up fracturing my ankle. So at that period, it was extremely tough because, I'd already been let go and was struggling with that, and to be injured and not being able to go and trial at other teams, it can be, a pretty stressful period.
Is it something that you just, obviously you put a lot of work in when you're at the club and you're training? Is there anything that you do outside of that to help give you that extra edge?
I think there's always a challenge of trying to find balance in life and in football. And I think I was very fortunate that at that time I was doing my GCSEs, and a lot of my time was focusing on revision, and, I was being around my friends doing the same thing, and we all had that same goal, revising for GCSEs, and that's something I enjoyed. So that took away a lot of what gave me something else to focus on at the same time. So it wasn't all doom and gloom. And to this day, I try to stay in some form of education, or try to keep my mind busy, so that when football's not going so well, there's a balance in your life. And, looking forward, my career isn't going to go up from here. It's going to go down. It's going to go up. It's going to go everywhere. So always having that sight on the outside to focus on will help massively with the football. And then, of course, like dealing with rehab and setbacks. Of course, you're going to give 100% with whatever you do, whether it's rehab or extra sessions on the pitch. But you have to like really, really love doing that. And I think that's why I enjoy doing it, because I know that it's in improving myself.
Yeah, so you've mentioned about finding that balance between football and life, and education is an important aspect to that. Talk to us about the journey from 16 to first team football.
Yeah, so I was on trial at Stevenage when I got a call from the academy manager at Arsenal, who offered me a trial against, they were playing Bayern Munich, and they needed a spare player. So I went along with them, played really well in that game, and then was actually offered a 2-year scholar back at Arsenal. So that's how I ended up back there. And pretty much from there, it's gone from strength to strength, I'd say, with a lot of upsets and downs within it. But as a whole, it's gone really well. My body started to really develop. I was quite late to develop, and I was behind the curve, and I started to catch up to everyone else. And all the gym and all the hard work, I could see the benefits finally. And I did struggle in the first few years under 18s and the first year in under 23s, but I felt myself adapting, and I knew I was putting in good performances. Even though it was tough, I could see myself improving, and that's when sort of the confidence started to grow. And I think having the opportunity to go and play for Northern Ireland boosted my confidence, and it made me believe in myself a lot more, to the point where I signed my first professional contract, and then managed to get a loan move into the professional game.
So you go from being told that you're going to be released to getting a professional contract. And we spoke a little bit before we came live here this evening, and we spoke a little bit around how long you've got left on your contract, and you've got that little bit of time now to try and establish yourself as a full-time professional footballer in the Football League. What are you doing now at Blackpool to try and make sure that you can get that when you go back to Arsenal? You're knocking on the door of being in the first team.
Yeah, I think the jump from academy football to the professional game is quite big, and you notice a lot of things in academy football which they don't look for in the professional game, and a lot of things they look for in the professional game they don't look for in the academy setup. So you have to adapt to that, and you have to improve on certain aspects pretty quickly, because if you don't take your opportunity, you haven't got time to learn over the period of 5-6 games. You need to play well straight away, or else, unfortunate the way it is, you'll be out the team, and you might have to wait a while until you get back in, which is something that's always going to be a struggle throughout everyone's careers. But I've really enjoyed this season, especially, and although it hasn't gone as smoothly as I would have liked, the opportunities that I've got, I've really enjoyed, and to be able to play for Northern Ireland for the first time this year was amazing.
Yeah, absolutely, and a great achievement as well. You talked there about some of the things that they look for in the professional game don't exactly mirror up some of the things that they look for in the academy environment. Can you give us some examples of what it's really like to be moving from academy football into that first team environment where it's all about results in it and outcome?
Yeah, I think you always get told, and even I'll tell you now, that it's all about results, but you won't fully understand until you experience it for yourself. And I thought I understood, but until you're thrown into it, that's when you learn and you can see for yourself. But managers, they need to be able to trust you, and they need you to put in good performances, because it's not just the team, it's themselves they need to look after, and they want to grow their own careers, and they haven't got time to waste on people who won't give them what they're looking for necessarily.
Yeah, and you mentioned there about obviously being called up into the Northern Ireland squad. How have you found that in terms of the standard of training players, obviously players that you're playing against?
Yeah, so I was still obviously with the under-23s when I was called in probably a year ago when I started to training, and that was a massive jump. And it was, I was a bit starstruck almost by the players that were around me, and I'd never played in front of fans, and so to be on the bench at Windsor Park, it's like, yeah, I was almost like a fan in that environment, and it felt a bit surreal. But obviously, the next times when I've joined up with a team, it's been more serious. It's my mindset has changed from just being a part of it to actually going out and performing. And some of the teams we come up against, it's you've never experienced that, so you have to adapt quickly. And like the first game away to Romania, I hadn't played really a professional game yet, and so to go into an international game was a massive jump. But obviously, all the players around me were so great, and they helped me massively, and we ended up getting a result out there.
Brilliant. I'm going to invite people to any questions, stick them up on the chat. But at this point, I'm going to invite Bran into the conversation, because Bran was a scout that seen you basically and recommended you to Arsenal. Bran, do you mind introducing yourself? Sorry, Bran, you need to unmute.
Okay now?
All good.
Is that okay? Okay, yeah. Yeah, Brian Stapleton, worked at Arsenal for 13 years. Before that, I was running district sides in Stevenage, the local club sides. Was running a tournament one day, and a guy from Arsenal come down and asked me would I be interested in working for Arsenal Football Club. So I jumped at the opportunity, and I've done 13 years at Arsenal Football Club. Dan was one of the first guys that I scouted at a young age. But the level at Arsenal is very, very high. And when I first joined Arsenal, they said that, if you get one player in a year, you've done well, because of the standards so high. And I brought Dan in, and the rest is history with Dan.
Yeah, Bran, so what was it that made Daniel stick out to you? What was it that you really seen that you said this boy could be a player?
Yeah, that when I watched the game, as Dan said, I didn't go there to watch Dan. I was on watching another game, and someone just brought it to my attention. There's a kid on the other pitch that just stands out. When I went over to watch the game, I realised, it's not rocket science to see who he was, because he was on another level. But what was even better, he was actually playing up a year. He was a year younger. But he had everything: his determination, desire, even at a young age. He was all around the pitch. Even at that young age, you could see he was a leader.
How do you think that stood by him, Brian, with obviously going through the turmoil, if you like, of being told, nah, you're not for us, and then bouncing back and now being involved in the international setup?
I'd be honest. I think it's probably one of the best things that's happened to him, really. And some of the boys at Arsenal, I don't think they'd be able to react the way Dan's reacted, because everything's put on the plate to the boys at Arsenal, as Dan would tell you. But one thing they don't ever learn is about rejection. Not just at Arsenal, in any football club academy, they don't teach the kids for the day when it comes and they get told they're going to be released. But it's how you deal with it in life. It's not just at football; it's in life in general. You could lose your job, you lose people, lose this. It's the way you react to it, and the strong ones are the ones that come through it. It's all right having everything, but when it goes wrong, is how you bounce back. But Dan's done that from day one. He's been always. He'd never give up the kid.
You've made a really good point there, Bran, because myself and Daniel had a chat just before we came on here, and we talked about, that probably is the best thing that could have happened to him, because it builds that resilience, and then it's a real picture of what actually could happen in the game. So, to be able to take that on board and take it on the chin, if you like, and then bounce back to sort of where he's on the journey, what he's on now, is testament to him. So thanks, Bran, for that insight. Much appreciated. We have a question.
One thing else to say about it's very important that you've got a good family behind you when you're academy, because I mean his parents have been there all day, every day for him, and it's a long journey from you going to an academy at under 7 to under 18. There's a lot of mileage up and down the motorways, and people don't see that. They just see Dan playing for Northern Ireland, they see him playing for Blackpool, but they don't see the Tuesday night when you're stuck on the motorway and there's a crash and you can't get to training, and it's a lot of effort goes in, from not just from Dan but from his mum and dad as well, and the family as well.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great point. And Daniel, I'll actually ask you a question. I mean, what sort of support, has your parents given you and your family given you along the journey?
Yeah, like I couldn't have asked for anything more, really. And, everything that I've ever needed or wanted, or wherever they would have had to take me, and all the sacrifices they would have had to make. And even on, my little brother and my big brother, like being dragged up to training. And, when I finally passed my driving test, I can't drive more than half an hour before I'm sick of it. So for them to drive me an hour there and an hour back 4 times a week, and the 3 hours in between training, it's, like, even when I'm thinking about it, that would have been extremely tough to do. So I'll be forever grateful.
Yeah, and it's a really good point. It's a really good point that you've made, Bran, because parents, some people don't realize that, the commitment levels that it takes. It's massive, and especially if you go and play in a game on a Sunday, it's an all day affair. It's not just a 2 or 3 hours in and out. It's an all day thing. You could be traveling away, and that's the side of it that people don't see.
Yeah, I was in that meeting with Liam Brady when Dan got told he was being released as well. And it's the first time ever. And Liam, I was in that meeting. It was the first, because I was aware already that the decision had been made. So I went up there to give him a bit of support. But it's the first time ever that Liam Brady's ever changed his mind with a kid at an academy.
Wow, that's a big statement in itself, because I mean, it's not often that somebody in that position is sitting down and telling somebody that they're going to be released and then to change their mind. I mean, what was your take on that? Yeah. I'm guessing you were taken aback by it.
Oh yeah, I really was. I just couldn't believe it, being honest. I've been there 13 years and I've never seen Liam do it before. But then saying that, again, it shows how much football means to Dan, because Liam said he's never seen a kid so devastated when he's been told he's been released by Arsenal Football Club. So it just shows you most kids would just take it on the chin, walk out of the room. But Dan was devastated. And Liam realised that and thought, you know what, this kid, give this lad another chance, and then he did, So fair play to Dan and fair play to Liam for making the decision.
Fantastic. Dan, we're going to move on to talking about what it's really like, the day in the life, if you like, of a player now at Blackpool. Just talk to us about your sort of daily routine. What's a typical week looks like?
Yeah, so obviously this season is like no other. So I think from now until the end of the season, we have 2 games a week, which is going to be extremely tough. And I think even last night, one of the other centre backs is injured. So on a realistic level now, the whole squad's going to be used, and I may not get breaks that I might need and that my body might need. And having not played 2 games a week probably ever in my career, it's going to be tough. So I think there's a lot we have to do at the moment to prepare our bodies so that we can perform twice a week. And I noticed the difference that coming into the professional game, especially in this season, you haven't really got the time to really train and to really work on the technical aspect of the game, because you're constantly having to perform. And then after the games, because they're such high intensity and they require such an output on your body, you're just recovering just in time for the next game, and it's a continuous cycle. So like me and the whole team, we have to be so on it with the recovery, and we have to be proactive, and we have to do things to get us ready for the next game.
Talk to us about the difference in the sort of style of play, if you like, or coming from Arsenal into League One football. What is the biggest difference, or the biggest thing that you have thought, oh, I wasn't expecting this?
Yeah, I think, as you can imagine, going down the leagues, the risk that teams takes is nowhere near compared to maybe the risk that a top team like Arsenal would do, and the styles of play are so different. And at Blackpool, we do try and play football. We have very good players, and we try to play through the lines. But most teams aren't really interested in that. And they play a very they don't take a lot of risk in their game. They try to play in the opponent's half. They get it forward very quickly. They try and keep it away from their goal. So it's a lot of balls up in the air, a lot of challenges. You can't really switch off. Set pieces are massive, and especially as a centre back, there's a lot. You probably required more to use your defensive skills, especially compared to when it was playing at Arsenal.
Talk to us about the appeal of going out on loan. Basically, how did that come about? Why did you choose to go to Blackpool? What was the thinking behind it?
Yeah, I think getting a loan experience and playing professional football is important for every young player, and it's very rare that a player breaks into the first team, especially at a Premier League club, and does well. Of course, there are many people that do that. That Bukayo Saka this year has done amazing, and he broke through and hasn't done a loan spell. But pretty much everyone else has had to experience, first team football, and it's so different to academy football that the only way to get experience from it is to be a part of it and to drop down and go there. And I think coming to Blackpool, I was very fortunate. It's a club which wants to play football, and that's what Arsenal need. They need me to work on my technical ability. I need to be able to play football. If I'm to play for the first team, I need to be comfortable on the ball. Arteta, I'm sure, will demand a lot from his centre backs. So if I was to play for the first team, I need to be ready. And coming to a club like Blackpool, who try to play the right way and try to keep the ball on the ground, it suits sort of what Arsenal are looking for.
And I know a lot of the big clubs will have loan managers and people who deal specifically with just loan players or loan clubs. What's the connection now between you and Arsenal?
Yeah, so we have a loan manager as well who follows up quite frequently to see how we're doing. So like they're the ones who go and, as well as my agent, who go and look for the teams and look for opportunities. And especially in a year like this, you may have to take an opportunity which wasn't ideal, and even getting an opportunity is extremely tough. And I think, a lot of my mates, and I know a lot of players who are struggling for loan opportunities because, the quality is so high, at every level. And it's not easy. Clubs don't want to take a risk on a young player. So, getting the opportunity is tough. So when you get it, you have to take it.
I had a conversation today with a guy who works at another Premier League club in recruitment, and we were talking about Brexit and the impact of Brexit that it's going to have on football in general. What impact do you think it's going to make in general in football, young players coming through into first teams?
Yeah, I think especially in the English leagues, they won't be able to maybe look into Europe to get players. So I think they're going to have to look, with inside the UK to find players. So that creates, opportunity for players within the same nation to play in their leagues. And I know a lot of players who have maybe struggled at finding opportunities and have gone to play in countries like Norway and maybe Iceland. And so I think it might be even tougher to get an opportunity there. So I think it will inevitably drive the level up.
And it'll obviously, young like we were talking today around the FA Youth Cup, for example. You see a lot of the top clubs where a large percentage of their players are from countries from all around the world, basically. And that's not going to happen now because clubs won't be able to sign players from outside England and the UK until they're 18. There's going to be more opportunities for local players and to get into the system. What advice would you give to the young players out here who's listening tonight and who'll watch this back to prepare themselves for those potential opportunities that might come their way?
Yeah, I think, I always think that I've been lucky with my opportunities, but I think something that maybe I don't give myself enough credit for is the fact that I've always been prepared for the opportunities, and that whenever they have come around, I know I've done the work beforehand, which makes me confident going into the opportunities. And, you really have to love doing the work behind the scenes, and you have to, find good reason to do it and find that passion for it. Otherwise you won't necessarily give your all towards it. And I think you need to do that if you really want to succeed and play at the highest level.
What are the three your own personal three non-negotiables to lead a high performance life?
Ooh, that's a tough question.
Paddy Byrne from Everton asked that question.
Yeah, I think first of all, giving 100% within sort of the team environment and what the team are asking you to do. I think it shouldn't necessarily be a chore. And I know it's hard to say because some people will enjoy it more than others. But for me, I love everything. I love the training. I love the gym. I even love the pre-ab, which everyone hates, because I can see that it's benefiting me. So I think you have to find a real passion for it. Number two, I'd say work on finding that balance in life and work on stuff away from football, which in return will benefit you. And it could be anything. it could, just find that almost that fire inside you, that excitement for something else, and be passionate for something else, which in return will, take a lot of the stress and the pressure away from football. And number 3, I think just surrounding yourself with good people who have good intentions and want to look out for you and want you to do the best.
Good advice. Good advice. From a personal perspective, how ruthless is the first team environment? Do you go into it thinking, I belong here, I'm going to take your place, with that sort of mentality that, it's a dog eat dog environment. How ruthless is it?
Yeah, I think again, you won't experience, I won't be able to tell you, have to experience it almost, but example I have is I was ready to play the Brighton game last month, and I got coronavirus. So I was out of the team, obviously isolating for 10 days. And, since then, I haven't played a minute in the last almost 3 weeks now, because someone else come in, done well, took his opportunity. And now I'm sitting on the sidelines waiting for almost them to slip up, or waiting for my opportunity. And I know that whenever it comes, that I'll be ready. And unfortunately, I think someone got injured yesterday. So now it's my time, and I'll go in and I'll do everything I can to keep my spot. And to be fair, that's what I've done quite well in my career. Every opportunity I've got, I've give my everything, and left the manager in a situation where he can't take me out of the team. And if he does, I can approach him and say, why? Because I've given everything and I've performed well.
I think that's really interesting that you would, get yourself obviously in that position ready to step in. And then when maybe you don't get that opportunity, you can ask the manager the question. How do you find the manager at Arsenal and also at Blackpool in terms of on a day-to-day basis, communication with them, etc.?
Yeah, I've always been extremely fortunate with, the coaches and managers that I've been under. Kwame Ampadu at Arsenal and the under-18s coach, and he really liked the fact that I would go up and ask when I wasn't playing, what can I do? And it's not saying going up to him and saying I should be playing, why am I not playing? Go up to them and ask the question, say why and what can I do so that I can get in the team. And I think they really respect that, because it shows that you're hungry, you want to play, you're willing to do the extra work to get in the team. So that's taught me, a lot of lessons going forward, that, there's always something you can do. And just being open and going and just talking. And I know it's tough because I find this extremely difficult because I'm quite a introverted person. I don't like difficult conversations, and that's probably the one thing I've struggled with the most. But I always force myself to do it because I know it's the right thing to do.
Can you talk to us, or can you give us any examples of role models or players that you look up to? It could be players that you've played with, players that you've maybe played against, or even players that you've just watched on TV when you were coming through.
Yeah, so probably when I was younger, John Terry was my favourite player, and he was someone I looked up to. Just how much of a leader he was, and how composed he was, and how much he loved playing and defending, and how passionate he was. So I always wanted to be like him. And then I've been extremely fortunate to play with some amazing players. And I think right now, Johnny Evans is probably someone who I really look up to and really love the way he plays. And, I want to almost imitate some of the things he does, and how calm he is and how composed he is. And, to be able to play next to him is, a bit surreal. And there are always great opportunities to learn.
Do you have any mentors, either players, current players, ex-players?
Not like specifically, but I think anyone who I'm in a team with has always been really, supportive. And any questions I've asked, there's tons of players that I can go up to and ask questions. And I've never found a player who's turned me away or hasn't been willing to help.
Have you ever played against any players that you think, wow, this is the level that I need to be at to sustain being a professional footballer?
I think from maybe an attacking point of view, playing against Haaland was a good experience. Playing against someone with such pace and power, and it was his determination and his aggression which I love the most. And sometimes you can get in a bit of when you're playing so many games, you sort of lose that. You sort of try and control it, but no, he was giving it all. And it was at Windsor Park when he was, the aggression on his face and the will to win. Maybe when you think it might not be up there, it was fascinating to watch. And then the other few games for Northern Ireland was Skriniar and Hinteregger. From the two games, the two centre backs I've seen, I know Skriniar scored their own goal in the 1-1, and then unfortunately they won in extra time. But he was a player who was really comfortable on the ball and looked like a real leader. And the same with Hinteregger, just so comfortable on the ball and so confident and always looked in control. And I like to watch every centre back that we come up against, and even the ones on our own team. So seeing Craig and Johnny all the time it's something to look up to and aspire towards.
And what's next for you? What's your next? Where do you want to be in 12 months' time?
I think that's a tough question. I think just keep that hunger and keep that desire, and as long as I'm working at that same and never lose that, then I'll be happy, I think. And I think the sky's the limit then, if I keep that fire going almost, and keep that balance in life and just keep doing the right things. And you never know, hopefully I can get a few more caps for Northern Ireland, and might be another loan next season, or you never know, I could get a few appearances for Arsenal too.
I'm guessing that's the ultimate sort of goal that you're looking to achieve, is to break into the first team at Arsenal and get yourself established there.
Yeah. I know how tough it is, and I know it seems like a big challenge now, but every challenge I've had in the past, I've seemed to go and smash. So even though it seems an extremely tough challenge, I feel like if I was thrown into it now, that I would go and do well. So I think it's about, again, taking that opportunity when it arises.
I'm going to go through a few questions now, Daniel. Jenny has sent in an email today with some questions, so thank you, Jenny, for that. First question, an interesting one. Would you like to play in a different country for the experience at some point in your career?
Yeah, I'd love to do that. I think I love the Bundesliga. Seems very. I love the crowds and I love the atmospheres there. I'd love to play in Italy as well. Not sure why. It just seems appealing, like the style of play and the passion they have. I think they're two countries I'd love to play in.
Yeah, I could have guessed the Italy one, I guess, for being so defensive. Probably suits you. Next question, what would you be if you weren't a footballer? Or what would you like to be if you weren't a footballer?
I'll probably have maybe like an office job. I'd like to be like work in a hedge fund or something like that. I'm quite interested in the stock market, so I'd probably have an office job, then have a kick about in the evenings.
We might have touched it. Well, we have touched on this a little bit, but can you describe your experience of playing for Northern Ireland? You know, what does it feel like to be an international player, to go into the setup, to be around those players, to be involved in the campaigns?
Yeah, at first I did. I felt like a fan almost, and it felt really surreal. And I think now I need to switch my mindset from being a fan and, you know, happy to be a part of it almost, to go in and winning games and, you know, putting in performances for everyone else. I still have to like switch out of that mode of this is so surreal and this is strange playing next to these players. But it's hard. But hopefully, if I can keep performing and keep getting selected, that will soon leave. Maybe it won't. Maybe I'll stay like that forever.
No, I'm sure you'll get used to it. I'm sure you'll get used to it. There's a question here coming from Matthew Wiley. Do you have any special foods in your dad that gives you the energy to train and perform at the highest level?
Nothing special, no. Just at the moment, I'm just trying to eat as much as I can because I'm trying to get strong, trying to recover for the game. So if you're training hard and playing games, just eat as much good food as you can.
And what does the typical diet look like for a player, especially at this point in time? As you say, you've got to have more of an intake because your output is more.
Yeah, so I'm actually tracking my food at the moment. So I'm trying to eat over 3,000 calories a day on average. I don't know if that probably means nothing to a lot of you, but I try to have breakfast and then 3 meals other than that as well, and then lots of protein before bed without boring you.
See, my problem is I'm having 3,000 calories. That's the issue I have. But yeah, so look, some really good stuff that have came through. Thank you everybody for participating. Danny, I'm going to ask you, what would you like to do after football? So think about, you've had a long career in the game, you've retired, you're 35, 36, 37, whatever it is. What would you like to do after? Would you like to stay in the game, or would you like to get out of it and go somewhere else?
I think it's a tough one. I think I'd probably like to get out of it and go and experience other things. And I have lots of other interests which, you know, I'd like to go down. I like the business side of the world, and, you know, the idea of having an office job to some people is like horrific, but, you know, I'd love to go and use my brain for a day rather than using my body necessarily. So I think I'd probably go outside of football.
Okay, that's interesting. Really interesting to hear. What players do you look up to at the moment in the Northern Ireland setup? Like who have you learned the most from, or can you give us some examples of some of the things that you've learned from some of the players?
Yeah, so like one that sticks out was away to Norway, and we was playing a 3 at the back. I was playing next to Johnny Evans, and it's such a small thing, and it probably means nothing to a lot of people, but he was just saying, like, when the winger had the ball, I needed to get a lot wider and a lot higher, so that if he was to play the ball, it was almost going off I was showing him off the pitch. And it was something so small like that, and it's really stuck with me, probably because who's said it, and the fact that you know he's a top player. And so yeah, like anything he says, it's like it sticks in my brain a lot more compared to maybe a coach, because you almost believe it more when it comes from a player like that.
I'm going to ask, I'm going to go run through the questions here, and we're just going to finish up, folks. So if you do have anything, just put it up onto the chat. Now's your time. I'll try and get through as many as you can. There's a question here that's come in from Mihal O'Hanlon. What other sports do you have an interest in?
Ooh, I'm not actually the biggest. I don't necessarily actually enjoy watching too many sports. I'd probably say I do watch a lot of football. I like American football a little bit, and other than that, I'm not the biggest. I like to play tennis, but again, not like to watch it. Golf, I can't get into. I'm just no good at the moment. Maybe when I get a bit better. Yeah, I'd probably say tennis is another sport I really enjoy.
If you could pick a team from any era to play in, what's your team?
Probably the Barcelona team, Xavi, Iniesta, and Messi when they beat Man United in the final. I think that period was.
I love that game.
Yeah. It was just the way they played was. Imagine being a part of that. It almost looks easy. Like just give the ball to them and let them do their stuff.
Yeah, it was a great game. Nothing to do with the fact that they beat Man United or anything, but being a Leeds fan and all that. But yeah, it was great. I think one other question that we've had come in, which is an interesting one, is how important has further education been to your development? So you've talked a little bit around having another interest or finding another balance. I think it's a really interesting question.
Yeah, I think it's so important, and I done my A levels during my scholar years, and especially how tough and, as you say, how sort of brutal it can be, even at a scholar level and academy football. Having that other thing to focus on, not even necessarily to have the qualification in case something goes wrong, just something to focus on at the time. It stimulates your brain. It allows you to not think about football because that can be on your mind all the time. It gives you something to do in your free time, so you're not playing 8 hours of PlayStation a day. You can play maybe 1 or 2, and you can use your other time a bit more wisely. So yeah, I'm still doing different courses now ever since.
There's a message that has come in from Jack Doran. Do you play FIFA?
Yeah, I'm getting a bit frustrated with it recently because I'm no good. But yeah, I do play it with my mates quite a bit. I play pro clubs, and a good way to stay in touch with my mates.
Decent. And which team do you support?
Growing up, I've been a Chelsea fan, mainly due to my mum, but
right.
Yeah.
Super. Luke, we're gonna leave it there. Daniel, I want to finish off by thanking Alan Little for setting us up for us this evening, and Paddy Byrne as well. Thanks to Bran Stapleton for joining in. Bran, thanks for your contribution.
Thank you.
Much appreciated. And obviously thank you to yourself, Daniel, for taking the time out this evening to talk to us. Hopefully, people here have picked up a few pointers. I know I have. Your 3 non-negotiables: passion and your balance. For me, the balance was so important, and it's quite refreshing to hear that from somebody who's involved in the professional game like yourself. So thank you very much for that. Just a reminder to everybody, on Monday evening, we've got Niall McGinn, Daniel's teammate for Northern Ireland, coming up at 7:30, with Liam Backett as well joining us on the evening. And we've got Andrew Cooper next Wednesday evening as well, from a coaching perspective. So anybody who's got a keen interest in coaching, it'll be a really interesting conversation with Andy as well. I did post details up about our Still in the Hat draw, so feel free to check it out if it's something you'd be interested in, but much appreciated. But look, we're going to leave it there. Thank you, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your evening, and I'll see you again soon.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.